In this video, I'm going to illustrate how you can create a heart with a metallic looking finish. I was trying to do this for Valentine's Day, but according to the calendar, I don't think this video is going to drop until after Valentine's Day. So anyway, you could just celebrate Valentine's Day late with this heart. Okay, I've already created a new document, and then I'm going to need to draw my heart. So I'll go over here and select the heart tool, and then holding down the shift key so I can constrain my proportions, I'll just draw my heart. So there it is. Now the fill color for my heart is going to be 2A, 2A, 2A. That's going to be the hex code. So if you're going to use a hex code, and the reason that I'm using a lot of hex codes is because I've done this practice about 10 or 15 times. I don't even remember how many, but it's been over several days. And instead of trying to hunt around the color with the swatches and all that sort of thing, I just found the color I wanted, and then I just copied down the hex code. So in order for you to put the hex code in, you're going to have this RGB hex thing selected from the color palette. So we're going to go over here and we're going to select the hex code, and it's going to be 2A, 2A, 2A. So there should be 3 numbers and 3 letters, and then you can press enter, and this is going to be the color that we're going to have. I don't want an outline on this, so I want to select that and then get rid of that outline, but there's our color right here. It's sort of a black color with some blues mixed in it, so that's what we're going to start off with. Now we need to add our effects, so we can go to effects, which are down here, FX, and then the first effect we're going to do is bevel and emboss. So right here we have the bevel and emboss effect, and from the drop down we're going to select outer, and then for the radius we're going to have 23.7 pixels as our radius, and make sure that on most programs, most of the Affinity programs, this lock is always selected by default for the radius and depth, and you want to make sure that those are selected. Sometimes you want something that has a lot of depth, and so you just unlock it like that, but we're not going to do that. We're going to keep them locked up. Okay, for soften, we're going to put in 9.4. and you'll see it change as we go by. Then over here we're going to need a profile for it because it's going to be kind of a 3D effect for our heart. We're going for a metallic 3D effect, at least as best we can. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select this third standard profile right here. So I'm going to click that, and then we're starting to get our emboss bevel effect. And then we need to get out of here because we need a direction selected. And after doing this a billion times, it seems like, I have decided that 69.4 and 82.8 is going to be what we're going to be using for the azimuth and the elevation. So our little dot is going to be right there. For the highlight and the shadow, we'll just keep it at the default values. We don't have to do anything there. Now the next thing we need to do is to select 3D. That's going to be our next effect. And the radius and the depth are going to be 11.9. So we're going to put 11.9 in there. And then we're going to soften to 20, and I think that's all the way up, so we can just use our slider to do that. So we can soften the edges up a little bit. The opacity is going to be 100%. We're not going to do that. And we're going to use a profile for our 3D, so we need to select the profile box, and I'm going to select this profile right here. It's the fourth standard profile over, so I'm going to click on that, and then I've got my fourth standard profile. So we've got a heart that's beginning to get some shape to it. The diffuse right here is 45, and specular is going to be 87. Now what specular is it's how you control the reflective properties of our heart. So we'll change this, well at least I did the last several times we did it. I kind of experimented around to see what kind of reflective thing was going to look the best, and after doing the whole thing and looking at it, I decided that specular would look best here. That's the reflective properties of our object. So it just means that it's shiny like a mirror. It's going to have properties of a mirror, which is what we want. Then for shininess, let me see, is going to be 80, and it already is, so I'm just repeating myself here. And then the ambient lighting, which is going to be over here. And ambient is the amount of lighting that you have in a room. So that's what ambient means. And the percent that I found that worked for me for this was 70. So I'll put in 70. And the ambient color, I had made my first couple of hearts with an ambient color of white, but it looks better to me if it's not white. So I'm going to click on that, and I found the hex color that I really like, and that hex color is going to be B, C, D, F, E, C, and hopefully that's the right one. Okay, and then we have to select enter, and that's what our ambient color in the background is going to look like. It's not going to be white. Now over here, a light source, we have one light source right here. And the light sources is set at 45 and 45 for the azimuth and the elevation. But this doesn't have enough lighting for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be changing the angles here at all. I'm just going to add another light source. So I'll press add, and then that changes it, and I'll press add again. And now we have this, and it looks more like a silvery color, which is what we want. So now if you pull this light source drop down, you'll see that we have 1, 2, 3 light sources. And each light source we had, it changes the lighting on it. Okay, so the next thing is something that is really going to give it that mirror type thing. Now notice that it looks silvery and shiny right there, so we're well on our way to do what we're supposed to be doing in this, or what I want, the type of effect I want. But in order to make it look more realistic, I'm going to select gradient overlay, and the blend mode for this gradient overlay is going to be overlay, like that. So gradient overlay, I'm going to keep it at linear and the opacity at 100%, but the position of the gradient is, we're going to have to fiddle around with the gradient. So in order to do that, we need to click on the gradient box, and I'm going to put some points along this gradient all the way from 0% position to 100% position over here. So right here at the 0 position, I want my gradient color to be hex code 4C7CC5, which is kind of what I got when I was experimenting around with it. So in order to do that, we've got to click on color, and then down here is the hex. So we just need to type that in. So I'm going to be typing in 4C7CC5 and make sure that's right so we don't get any weird colors, and I'll press enter. So this is what we're going to get. Then I want a position at 30 degrees on this line, so I'm going to click another point, and I'll click it right there, and that is not 30 degrees, so we're going to have to move it until we get to 30 degrees approximately, and at that position 30 degrees. And when it's selected, the one that's big, the circle that's big, is the one that's going to take the color, so keep that in mind when you're doing this. And I'll click on the color, and in my hex down here, I want it to be AFC 2, E, and 2. Okay, so let me proofread that and make sure I have the right one. I wrote these down on a list. AFC 2E2, and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, so there's that one. Then the next one is going to be at 51 degrees. So we're going to click another dot about in the middle and see how close I can get. Oh, I'm pretty close. So we're going to go over to 51. And then again, we're going to click the color. And the hex code I found for that one is going to be 4C7, CC, and 5. 4C7, CC5, and then enter. And then that's what it's going to look like there. And then at 67 degrees, so it's approximately over here somewhere. I was real close on that one when I clicked it. So there's 67 degrees, and we're going to click on it. And this one then is going to be AFC 2, E, and 2. And then press enter. And then that's what it looks like there. And then at 100 degrees, we're going to have our last dot, which is going to be down here. A string of F's means it's white. So sometimes some of these hex codes you'll remember, and others you'll have to figure them out. Once you get a bunch of colors you really like and you want to use them over and over, you might want to save them or write down the hex codes or something like that, so you won't have to be searching on the color wheel all the time. That can be a bit of a drag sometimes. So this one is going to be 355 B, A, and 2, and then enter. Okay, so now we have a gradient that makes it look like it's a little bit more like a mirror type thing. And so if we want to adjust it, all we would have to do is like move one of these things, either move this to see how it looks. Now I've got it set up the way I want, so I'm probably not going to be moving it too much, or like that, or so on. So you can still adjust these little things, and that's what I did when I did my first couple of hearts. I got the color I wanted, and then I just put some points on there and moved the points around until I got the color I want. Now one thing I really don't like is the up and down gradient on this. I don't like that at all. So what I want to do is I'm going to go down to this angle, and I'm going to click on 0 and then move it to about 315 degrees. That makes it look a little bit more realistic as far as it being a reflective thing than it is if it's straight across, at least to me. The first couple of ones I didn't do it that way. As a matter of fact, one of them I tried to use the curves thing to do that. That was not too successful, so I need some work on that. Okay, so that's my effects to get me my metallic heart. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to pop over here to our Pixel Studio. So we're going to click on that, and I'm going to select the paintbrush tool because there's one more thing I want to do. Now obviously I've been in here before, so you'll click on paintbrushes, and I have these bunch of brushes that are called Carissa 2, and these are my star brushes. And the star brush I'm going to use is going to be this one. and I want to have it to be a certain color. So I don't really, if we use this brush right now, it's going to be that color, and I don't want it to be that color. I don't want it to be the color that the original heart was. I want it to be a silver type color. So I have found my favorite type of silver. I don't know why this thing won't open when it's recording. Come on. Ah, there we go. Okay, so I want to make sure that it's like that, and then for the hex number, I'm going to type in ADADAD. This ADADAD is a silver gray type color that I like to use, and that's the color that my star is going to be. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to make my star color a gray. I'll go back to my layers, and you really don't have to, but it does look better. And then you want to adjust this star, and you can kind of see the outline about what it's going to look like. If we hate it, we can always redo it. And the bracket keys, this is the left bracket key, will make it smaller, and the right bracket key will make it bigger. So I'm going to have it this big, and then I'm going to click, and now that will give me my gray star. Actually, I don't like that. I think that's a little bit too big. So I'm going to do Control Z and get rid of it. And then I'm going to bracket down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, go over here, click again. And so I think I'm going to leave it like that. So now we have our heart, and we have our little reflective star twinkling off of our metallic heart. So the purpose of this was to make a heart that had a metallic finish, and the metallic finish is emphasized with this star type thing for my brushes. So there we are, our metallic shiny heart. Give this a try on your own and let me know how it went. I had to do this several times, as I've already alluded to get something that was at least decent. And to be honest, most of them that I did look pretty strange. So give this a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers.